Hey guys, this is Callum from EnglishShooting and welcome back to the channel. You've probably all seen now there's a new firearm consultation, this time called the Firearms Safety Government Consultation from the Home Office. What a lovely little name. Firearms Safety, how could anybody ever disagree with that? The proposals that are being put in place are as meaningless as the previous ones. Now, of course, within the original offensive weapons bill, there were things like acid and knives thrown in there as well, making it very hard to disagree with the proposals in its entirety, because who would want to be going against acid being thrown in their face? Who would want to be against curbing the knife crime epidemic that we have in this country? And they love to sneak these little firearm changes in there left, right and centre that hopefully go unnoticed. Well, very fortunately, as a community, we did notice, and certainly the 50 cal society stood up and made their voice heard and were very successful in removing the proposal to ban 50 BMG rifles from Section 1 certificates. But this consultation, the bill which no doubt that will come out of this consultation, is just a follow-up. They are including everything that they either missed off, forgot to put in there, or weren't as successful as they thought they were going to be first time round. So this consultation is focusing on 4 different points. Number 1, it is the high muzzle energy rifles. They've moved away from calling them exactly what they are, the 50 BMGs. They're calling them high muzzle energy rifles. I guess they've found out that induces more scare and fear in people. Now, they're also going after air guns. We've known for a while, since Scotland introduced licensing, that they were going to be taking a stab at air guns here in the UK. They're also looking into miniature rifle ranges and the miniature rifle exemption. And again, doesn't come as much of a surprise as you might think, given the publicity of the full metal jacket ranges, the absolute nut jobs doing 360s and using a backstop no higher than their knees and calling it a safe range. The 4th point within this consultation is ammunition. They're not happy with the current restrictions around ammunition component parts, and they want to tighten those up as well. But let's get into the high muzzle energy rifles. Of course, they were unsuccessful in banning 50 BMG last time, so what they're doing now is a backdoor ban. They're going to make them so impossible to own and to shoot that people just give up or don't even bother entering that world of shooting. They've defined high muzzle energy rifles as 13,600 joules, and you might be sat there going, okay, well, what else does that cover? Well, really, it is just the 50 BMG. For example, a 600 Nitro Express is going to be around 11,000 joules, and a 338 Lapua Magnum is going to be around 7,000 joules. So really, very specifically at the 50 BMG, what they are proposing are safety requirements above that of a firearms dealer. We have 3 levels of security measures, 1, 2 and 3. RFDs are at the level 3, and what they are saying is that at the bare minimum, 50 BMG or high muzzle energy rifle owners should have the minimum of level 3 at their premises or property or wherever the guns are stored. They're also talking about keeping ammunition separate from the rifles, which we already have to do. Regardless of the caliber, regardless of the muzzle energy, you already have to keep the ammunition separate from the rifle. But what they're also talking about is small amounts of ammunition, limiting you to small amounts without actually defining what small amounts are, by leaving off any specifics that people go, oh yeah, well, actually that makes sense. Who needs a large amount of ammunition? You go and shoot your small amount, go and buy some more, go and shoot your small amount. No one needs to be stockpiling it, but without actually defining what the amount is, how can anybody give proper feedback to what is being proposed? Point 2. So We've had the high muzzle energy rifles. Point 2 is going to be the miniature rifle exemption. Now, this is one that I will actually put my hands up and say I think is pretty sensible. It's the only one I'm going to say is pretty sensible out of all of these, but it is pretty sensible. We've talked about this before with full metal jacket ranges and the idiocy that was going on there. It was dangerous, and it was only a matter of time until somebody got seriously hurt or worse. Now, we talk a lot about if, buts and maybes, and certainly the Home Office and neighbours love to talk about if, buts and maybes. That was the whole premise of banning the Mars action rifles and the lever release rifles. Well, what if somebody got hold of one? Okay, well, yeah, you live in your little fantasy land. But for this example, it happened. There were a group of people that were quite obviously not fit to be in possession of a firearm, and certainly not fit to be using them safely, and they ran a range that was sending rounds over the heads of people at a nearby cafe. Very, very lucky that nobody got hurt. They did, of course, get prosecuted for threatening somebody with a firearm, and just another example of why these people shouldn't have been in possession of these firearms. And at the end of the day, this exemption allows people to be able to own firearms without going through all of the checks and balances. And what they are proposing is for people that are currently running these ranges without any sort of certification, purely using the miniature rifle exemption, to go and get a firearm certificate. And yes, it's a little bit more pain, it's a little bit more paperwork for people running these ranges, maybe leaders of scout groups, but overall I think this will actually for once stop the wrong people from easily getting hold of these guns, and certainly legally getting hold of these guns. Point number 3 on this consultation is ammunition. They're not happy currently with the restrictions around ammunition. They say in the consultation that, of course, primers and powder are currently restricted, and if you go into a gun shop you will be asked to provide a certificate to be able to buy them, but brass cases or bullet heads aren't currently restricted. And what they're talking about is licensing them or further restricting those components. In the case of a bullet head, most people can quite easily make a bullet head. You just need a lathe, you just need a lead mold. So any rules, any laws that they bring in for those are just going to be completely asinine. They're going to be not worth the paper that they're written on, because people are going to so easily bypass them. There have been a number of cases where people have taken blank rounds and have pressed lead into them, making them a viable projectile and also a lethal projectile, more importantly. And all the time that's going on, it sort of makes restricting the head meaningless. And furthermore, talking of blank firers, well, what's going to happen to that ammunition? Because they have powder, they have primers, they have a case, and again, you can easily press a bullet head into that. Are they going to ban those? Are they going to restrict them? Are you going to need a firearm certificate now to be able to buy blanks? And then, more ridiculously, cases. Trying to license brass, trying to license the case of ammunition is just going to never work. It's just completely unfeasible. All you have to do is walk across any of the ranges up and down the country for 5 minutes and you will have more brass and cases than you can shake a stick at. Go to Bisley and walk up and down Butt Zero. You will have buckets and buckets of cases before you know it. And what further hassle is that going to cause range owners? If the case is now licensable, if the case is now restricted, that means that after every firing session, the range owners are going to have to go around and pick up every single case. It's just going to be unfeasible, and it again is not going to end up doing what they're trying to do in restricting access to criminals. And just like with the obsolete calibers, they're already running around with ammunition. They've already got hold of the ammunition and are using it to kill people. Why do you think making it even harder for the law-abiding shooters out there is going to have any effect on the criminals? The last subject of this consultation is of course air guns. It's going to affect the largest group of shooters within the UK by far. By their own admission, there are over 4 million airgun owners. We all know the importance of airgun shooting. It is the gateway into shooting sports for the majority of people. It's where most people start. It's the most accessible, and of course this is why they want to restrict it even further. And what they're proposing is to ban the unsupervised use of air guns for anybody under the age of 18. And that's to stop things like this tragic story of this kid being shot, that they quote specifically within this consultation of a young child being killed by an air gun. And it was another child that accidentally shot their friend with an air gun whilst they were unsupervised. Now, it was an incredibly tragic accident, but it was just that. It was an accident. Would we be talking about cutting down trees if he had fallen out of a tree and broken his neck? Accidents do happen. It is a fact of life, and it's a very delicate balance of deciding when there are too many accidents, or when maybe the accidents are sort of within the allowable threshold. But ultimately what this comes down to is a complete lack of firearms training. If you want to prevent an accident like that, you would be better off providing more education to the public, maybe bringing shooting back into schools and having ranges in schools and teaching kids right at the root how to safely use firearms. All of these things could have been prevented, just not with further legislation. In addition to banning the unsupervised use of air guns for under 18, they're also talking about bringing in further restrictions on how air guns are stored, meaning that they will have to be locked away or at least trigger lock used on the gun. At the end of the day, this is a consultation. You can have your say. You have until the middle of February to put in your response. You can write your own sort of essay on it, or you can go through and respond to their specific questions. Just be careful. It's not going to take you long to realize that the questions are very cleverly worded. They are incredibly leading, and you might think that you're answering it one way, and it actually gives them the justification for more restrictions. But go and check that out yourself. Be sensible, be proper about it, and give the best answers you can. If we all descend on this, if we all give our responses and input, yes, of course, they can just completely ignore it, but this is really what we can do. Of course, as always, you can get in contact with your MPs, you can make them aware of it, you can tell them how completely illogical most of this is. Again, please be sensible, please be professional about it, and represent the community as it should be represented. But there we go, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up, and please make sure you're subscribed for any future videos. And as always, hope to see you soon.